Colson is signing a one-year deal with the Indiana Fever. Colson, who spent the last 3 seasons in Las Vegas, brings veteran pedigree and experience in the backcourt to a surging Fever squad.
Aya Wilson is fuming after her best friend chooses Caitlin Clark over her.
There's no... I think she's amazing. I watched every time I possibly could. And our league loves her. This has nothing to do... We're just doing our job. We're going to show up. Who is ever on the other team is on the other team. We don't really care. We're going to show up and do us.
Aya Wilson and Sydney Colson were inseparable. Colson wasn't just a teammate. She was Aya's right-hand woman, close confidant, and partner in crime. If Aya had a ride or die in the WNBA, it was Colson. But now, Colson is packing her bags for Indiana, leaving behind the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces for a fresh start with the Indiana Fever.
So from Colson into the game in the high, we're starting to see that team again. And there's Colson, another steal. This time it counts. Clark, right court.
This isn't just a regular move, it's a seismic shift in the WNBA. Why would Sydney Colson leave a dominant, back-to-back championship team to join a squad fresh out of a rebuilding phase? It all comes down to Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever's rising ambitions.
I feel like this signing, of all of the moves that the Fever have made during this free agency season, this one has been the most shocking for a lot of fans. Firstly, because Sydney Colson seemed to be a key piece to the Las Vegas Aces, and it seemed like that Las Vegas Aces group is kind of falling apart at the moment. Kelsey Plum is now with the Sparks. Sydney Colson has now chosen not to re-sign with the Aces and has gone to the Indiana Fever. And so fans were shocked that, one, she was leaving, and secondly, they were also shocked because Sydney Colson's agent had made some not so kind remarks on social media during last season, and these were directed at Caitlin.
Let's break down why this move makes perfect sense for Sydney Colson, and why it probably stings for Aya Wilson. Before we dive into why Colson chose Indiana over Las Vegas, it's important to appreciate who she is and what she brings to the table. If you're only looking at the stat sheet, you're missing the bigger picture. Sydney Colson is a 2-time WNBA champion and a seasoned veteran who's been in the league since 2011. She's played for multiple teams, adapting to different systems, coaches, and locker rooms, yet her impact remains the same everywhere she goes.
As they've been saying, her numbers don't lie.
Colson over to George.
This season, and the most given up by the Lynx this season. Colson is going to add 2 more.
She's not the player who drops 30 points a night or puts up eye-popping numbers. She's not the flashiest on the court, but make no mistake, she's one of the most important. Because she does something every great team needs. She brings leadership, energy, and a winning mindset that doesn't show up on the stat sheet but makes all the difference when it matters most.
I know she is a role player. She can play the 1 or the 2. And I feel like that's probably the same role that she's going to step in with the Indiana Fever. It seems like she's a locker room pickup, another veteran pickup, somebody who can slot in and be backup for Kelsey, be backup for Caitlin. The thing that I'm noticing about the Indiana Fever roster and how it's shaking out, it seems like the 2-3-4 position is really stacked, and especially the 3-guard position when it comes to those shooting guards, and DeWanna Bonner especially being able to move from 2-3-4, Natasha Howard being the same way, so Sophie Cunningham being the same way. Sydney's a smaller guard. She's been in the league before, but again, just like the other pickups that they've gotten, Sydney is somebody who knows how to win and has been in those positions before. So this signing once again proves from the Indiana Fever front office, they are ready to win.
Every championship team has its stars, the players who score big and dominate the headlines. But what separates a good team from a great one is having someone like Sydney Colson. You need chemistry to win championships, and Colson is one of the best at keeping teams locked in. Her energy, personality, and leadership make her the ultimate teammate, the glue that holds everything together when the pressure is on.
So the Fever just stole one of the biggest and most important players for the Aces over the last couple of years. The Fever literally just stole her from the Aces. And you might be saying, oh, she was a free agent. No. Hey, like, genuinely, they basically stole the Aces backup point guard. And if you guys don't know about Sydney Colson, again, I'll always say this about players. People do not understand career bench players, how important they are.
Colson disrupts offenses with her quick hands, active feet, and high basketball IQ. She's a relentless pest on the perimeter, making life miserable for opposing guards. While some players shine in highlight moments, Colson's value comes from consistently making the right basketball play, whether it's setting up a teammate, taking a charge, or making a crucial defensive stop. She's always in the right place at the right time. With championship experience under her belt, she knows exactly what it takes to win, and that mindset is invaluable, especially for a young, hungry team like Indiana.
This is what Sydney Colson has previously said. Sydney Colson has said, return to the Aces is what makes sense for her career, but she doesn't know if it's a sure thing. I've never been in a situation it's guaranteed that I'm going back the following season. So I put confidence in God, but absolutely, I want to be back to the Aces. Colson, who considered retiring in 2022, averaged 8 minutes per game this season, double the amount of time she saw last season, averaged 2.5 points. She feels like she gained more of a coach, Becky Hammon's trust this year, which should bode well for potential return. I'm a young vet, she said, alluding to the fact that she missed the 2012 through 2014 seasons and played overseas, having been cut from WNBA teams. Although she's a second round draft pick in 2011, this is just her.
The Indiana Fever has all the young talent in the world: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Alyssa Smith, explosive players ready to dominate. But talent alone doesn't win championships, experience does. Sydney Colson isn't just a veteran, she's a winner. She knows what it takes to grind through a full season, lock in during the playoffs, and stay mentally tough when the pressure is at its peak. That's exactly why Indiana wanted her.
And they also need to think about, okay, win now, but we also want to build a dynasty here. What players are going to stay here for 3, 4, 5 seasons? Is it only going to be players like Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston? Are those the 3 that you're just, okay, making sure we have these and the rest will fall into place? But I would just caution them, I would want to see them be super selective with their picks in the WNBA draft. And I also know that Katie Lou's contract is a pretty large one when it comes to salary cap in the WNBA. And that is something where if they were able to clear her contract, they would have more space for different players. But at this point, I feel like they have the pieces. I don't feel like they need anything else. So we will just have to see what else they do. But with that, it seems like the Indiana Fever are all on the same page with making sure that the chemistry and the cohesion in the locker room stays that high quality as it was last season. And this is what Fever president had to say about protecting their locker room.
And those are elements that each player that we have handpicked to be a part of this roster have that. And the young group that we're bringing back, asked us, protect our locker room, protect the culture that we've got started. So that was very intentional. And so, Natasha, knowing her when she was a young player, and then watching how, when you go to other teams and you help other teams win championships, that's really something special. And I think, everywhere she's gone, she's won. She's a winner. Natasha Howard is a winner. And to have her here, not only as a winner, but as a winning person too, and in our locker room. So those were the kinds of discussions when we talk about players.
And I think that's so...
The Indiana Fever is stacked with young talent: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Alyssa Smith, dynamic players ready to take over the league. But talent alone doesn't win championships, experience does. Sydney Colson isn't just a veteran, she's a proven winner. She knows how to endure the grind of a full season, lock in when the playoffs hit, and stay mentally tough when the pressure is at its peak. That's exactly the edge Indiana was looking for.
Colson in the corner. Got that to go. Colson's going to push. Looks like my bell.
The Indiana Fever is stacked with young talent: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and Alyssa Smith, dynamic players ready to take over the league. But talent alone doesn't win championships, experience does. Sydney Colson isn't just a veteran, she's a proven winner. She knows how to endure the grind of a full season, lock in when the playoffs hit, and stay mentally tough when the pressure is at its peak. That's exactly the edge Indiana was looking for. So, she made the move. Colson left behind Aya Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and the Aces dynasty to be part of something new, fresh, and exciting. Now she's in Indiana, ready to help lead the Fever to their first championship in years. The question is, can Aya Wilson and the Aces handle this new threat? Because Indiana isn't just getting better, they're coming for the throne. Colson is a defensive disruptor, a player who can press, trap, and make life miserable for opposing guards. Indiana is young, but Colson will be the steady veteran voice that helps them take the next step. She's always been about winning, and with Indiana on the rise, she's jumping in at the perfect time. Why would Colson leave the Aces? Simple, she sees what's happening in Indiana, and she wants a piece of it. The Las Vegas Aces are an established powerhouse, but Indiana? They're the future. And with Caitlin Clark leading the charge, the Fever are about to become one of the most electrifying teams in the league. Here we go again with the Caitlin Clark effect. She's the biggest name in women's basketball right now, a generational talent who's turning Indiana into a must-watch team. Every veteran in the league is taking notice. This isn't just a random move, it's a statement. Now, how does Aya Wilson feel about this? Losing a close friend and teammate always hurts. But losing them to another rising star? That's different. Let's be real, Aya Wilson is the face of the Las Vegas Aces, and she's used to being the main attraction. But for Sydney Colson to walk away from that and head straight into Caitlin Clark's orbit, that's got to sting. Wilson and Colson have shared years of battles, celebrations, and championships. But now, one of Aya's closest allies has chosen a different path, one that leads straight to Indiana and the Caitlin Clark show. Sydney Colson's move to the Indiana Fever is bigger than just a roster change. It's a signal to the rest of the league. Indiana is coming. With Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boss
is trying to redirect a pass. Clark. Oh my! From Schenectady. Clark wheels around, evades Van Lith, and drains it. My goodness.
And for Aya Wilson, that might be the hardest part, watching her best friend help build
Caitlin Clark.
There's
no. I think she's amazing. I watched every time I possibly could. And our league